Alrighty, so I was watching some Summer League, and I was scrolling through ESPN on my iPad, and I saw something I wasn't too happy with. It mentioned part of Calvin Johnson's decision to retire was us losing, which I understand we are not the greatest franchise historically. One playoff win in 60 years ain't great. If you don't believe me, I'm not kidding. The Detroit Lions have won one playoff game in the past 60 years. Bleep you, Bobby Lane. It's all because of a Bobby Lane curse. It's kind of like the curse of a Bambino for Red Sox. We traded Bobby Lane, a really good quarterback, back in like the 50s. He won his multiple championships in the 50s. That's before like the Super Bowl. We traded him in the 60s. We've won one playoff game since. That was back in the 90s with Barry. I mean, we've been close a little bit with Stafford and Calvin. But, I mean, I'm not too happy with this. Calvin Johnson, if you didn't know, was my favorite athlete of all time. It was so fun to watch him for, like, 10 years or however long he was in the league or whatever. But he dominated. I think he is one of the three best receivers of all time. You can argue with that. But I understand he only played 10 seasons. His stats aren't up there. It's kind of similar with Barry Sanders. I think Barry Sanders is the best running back of all time, no doubt. Because in those 10 seasons, Barry Sanders was phenomenal. He was better than Emmitt Smith and Walter Payton and Jim Brown. You can't forget about Jim Brown. But anyway, I want to talk about what happened today. So Calvin Johnson, he took a shot at us. He said, because we lost. And we didn't win a single playoff game with him. So, I mean, he was on that team. He has to get some of the blame. It's not all just our fault. He had something to do with it, too. I'm not saying it's entirely his fault, but he's the star player. He was the best player on our team for those 10 seasons, and we didn't win a playoff game. So, you gotta give yourself some blame, too, buddy. You were the star. You're the star. I understand you're not the quarterback, but we have a very good quarterback. I understand. Let's go to the 2011 season. We made the playoffs. We weren't a great team, obviously. We were taking on a very experienced quarterback in Drew Brees. Stafford was in, his third year. Calvin was in his prime. And obviously, who was the Saints quarterbacks? Corners, like Tracy Porter? I don't remember who their corners were. But anyway, then in 2015, I think the Saints one was 2011, 2012. Then Calvin's second and last playoff game was in 2014-15 when we played the Cowboys. We should have won that, but the refs were awful with that quote unquote. I think it was Brandon Pettigrew, our tight end. I don't think he might still be on the team. It was a clear pass interference, and they didn't call it. And the Cowboys won by like 3 or 4 points. But then the refs kind of hated on the Cowboys the next week. And then the Packers lost because of the onside kick against the Seahawks. And then the Seahawks decided to pass the ball. So, I mean, every team who, like, the Cowboys beat the Lions, and then they lost the Packers, they lost the Seahawks, who lost the Patriots. In sad ways, especially the Seahawks, who threw the ball on the 2-yard line with beast mode. I'm grateful I'm not a Seahawks fan. But then again, I mean, I'd have a ring, and we were nowhere near a ring. But Calvin, I don't know if I can say he's my favorite athlete of all time. I think I can, but this is definitely a punch in the face and a stab in the heart, man. I understand we're not a great team. We made it to 2 playoff appearances, but he was the best player for most. I don't know about all the seasons. I don't know about it as a rookie, but for most of those seasons, he was our best player. And I understand. Okay, so we made the playoffs in real life this year. So who knows how good we'd be with Calvin. Now, I just did a simulation for my 81 subscriber special like 2 days ago, and we missed the playoffs with Calvin Johnson. Now you're like, oh, you missed the playoffs. No, that's a video game. What would you rather, Calvin Johnson or nothing? Even though Calvin Johnson's not the greatest, he's still going to get it done, probably 1,000 yards, 65, 70 catches, 8, 9 touchdowns. That's pretty good. And we have a good receiving core. Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, Anquan Bolden. I mean, he's pretty old. Theo Riddick, I think he's the best receiving back in the league. And no really actual running backs. I mean, Abdullah was out for most of the year, so you can't really blame him. But I think that's really all I got to say. I'm excited for Calvin Ron this year. Stafford, he last year had he put up MVP numbers. I'm not saying he deserved to win MVP. I would have probably voted for Matt Ryan. It won't take me 5. No, I would have voted for Tyron Smith. I forgot. I've been saying this for 6 months. I would have voted for Tyron Smith, the Cowboys left tackle, because I think we all know why. But Stafford had really good numbers. We have not a great running back situation. Our receivers are good. Our offensive line is better. We have Taylor Decker, who's injured. We signed Rick Wagner. We signed TJ Lang. On the defensive line, we got Ziggy. We got Kerry Hyde, who had a good rookie year. Ashawn Robinson, who we just drafted. Linebacker core, we have Tahir Whitehead, who's really underrated. People are down. I think Tahir Whitehead should play middle linebacker this year. And then Jared Davis should play outside linebacker. Speaking of, we got Jared Davis in the draft. Secondary, we have Darius Slay, who I think is the best corner in the league. I know you have your Chris Harrises and your Richard Shermans and your Josh Normans. I don't have all day to name all the good corners. I honestly think Darius Slay might be the best in the league. Big play Slay to save the day, man. He's an absolute legend. And we got Tease Tabor as well. That's not a bad team. That's a team that can make the playoffs. I know we have the Packers on our division with Aaron Rodgers, but we have the Bears in our division, so, that's a bright spot. I understand they have Mitchell Trubisky, but, they're still the Bears, but we're the Lions. Go Lions.